we are. I'm gonna give it a little wide open throttle, so 60. So yeah, I mean, it's not slow for what it is, right? I mean, being a compact 5-passenger SUV. Welcome to Drive Culture. I'm Jonathan Rivers, and today we have the 2026 Honda CR-V TrailSport Hybrid. And I'm going to tell you why this might be the best trim in the entire CR-V lineup. So we'll go over the exterior, the interior, the powertrain, and of course, take it for a drive. So if this is content you're after or you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. And with that, let's get after it. Now guys, here we are with the new CR-V TrailSport Hybrid. That's right, this is the first time that they've ever had a TrailSport branded trim on the CR-V, and nonetheless on the CR-V Hybrid of all the models. That's right, you know CR-V has a gasoline engine and also the hybrid powertrain, but for this TrailSport, it's a hybrid powertrain exclusive. That's the only way it comes, and it's not for any bad reasons at all. In fact, there's many good reasons. We're going to talk about all that on the video today. So first, let's talk about the CR-V and the history, right? So this is actually now the 6th generation of Honda CR-V. It's been around for a very long time, and this is, in my opinion, probably the best generation of all the CR-Vs. From the styling to the features to the technology, and then now you add in this off-road capable TrailSport trim, and I truly think this might be the best CR-V of all time. And clearly there's a lot of people that agree, because sales for CR-V are through the roof. Last year Honda sold over 400,000 CR-Vs, and half of those were hybrids. So clearly people like their CR-Vs. Clearly people like to get good gas mileage in the hybrid powertrain, which again we'll cover during the powertrain section of this video. So now let's talk about this particular trim. Like I said, this is the TrailSport Hybrid. It kind of sits in between the entry Sport Hybrid trim and the Sport L Hybrid trim. It doesn't go all the way to the Sport Touring Hybrid trim, which means while it has some great features, it's not fully loaded like that Sport Touring Hybrid. But in this configuration, it's actually $38,800 MSRP. You know, of course, not including D&H and paint and things like that. But speaking of paint, this is actually an all-new color for CR-V, and it's exclusive to this TrailSport trim. It's called Ash Green Metallic, and I think it looks fantastic here on the CR-V. Now, it's also available on the 2026 Honda Passport TrailSport as well. So this is kind of this new exclusive color that Honda's introduced for the TrailSport trims. But I think this kind of like army green looks really good, and with all the black contrasting accents, it definitely pops. So next, let's go ahead and do a full exterior walk around of this CR-V TrailSport Hybrid. All right, guys, here we are with the CR-V TrailSport Hybrid, and we're going to talk about the exterior design and the updates and things that make this a TrailSport trim. So like I just said in the intro here, you know, this new color, ash green metallic, looks really good. It looks good on the Passport TrailSport, and it looks really good here on the CR-V as well. So like I said, you combine that with all the black kind of sporty trim that you get on the hybrid models, and it makes for a very appealing design. So let's talk about the exterior styling, kind of starting up front. If you can see here on the hood, you know, this 6th generation CR-V went with a much more kind of squared off, kind of, you know, sharp character line design, and it looks really premium. You can see some of the character lines here on the hood, down to these LED headlights and, you know, LED daytime running lamps here at the top, you know, that kind of blend into this black brow that goes across the whole front edge of this grille. And so we're going to take a step back and look at the grille. There you can see it's got that big bold Honda badge in chrome, and that nice piano black trim on the grille. You know, that's available on some of the other hybrids, but this has kind of an exclusive grille design being TrailSport. And part of it is also you get that new TrailSport badge in orange. So that orange color there is essentially like exclusive for TrailSport. So you're going to see orange accents on the vehicle and inside the vehicle as well. So if you look further down, you can see those same openings, the honeycomb mesh, you know, and a very kind of an aggressive front fascia. That silver portion down at the bottom, Honda calls that a skid garnish. So it's not a skid plate, This actually doesn't get the full skid plate treatment that the new Passport TrailSport gets, but that kind of silver accent on the bottom helps to break things up and make it a little bit more rugged. So next, let's go ahead and start to make our way here on the side, kind of taking the entire side profile here of this CR-V TrailSport Hybrid. And just like the other hybrid trims, you get a lot of black treatment, right? So you get the black accents here on the windows, the roof rails which come on this package, the mirror caps, even the door handles are black. So those are things that maybe on a brighter color pop out more, but like I said, on this ash green metallic, it definitely looks really good. So let's go ahead and take a look at the wheel and tire package here. So these are exclusive wheels and tires to this TrailSport trim. So these are like an 18-inch wheel painted in a sharp gray. So this like dark gray that Honda uses. And it's a really aggressive and rugged design. Here you can see these are Continental cross-contact TR tires, right? So these are, all-terrain tires brought to the CR-V. This is the only trim that they come on. These are 235 60R18 tires. So, aggressive enough to get off trail, go off-roading. But again, this trim is really about, combining the best of both worlds with a hybrid powertrain and, some mild off-road capability. So next, we'll kind of take a step back. And we'll also look at some of the detailing. Like I said, you have the black mirror caps with LED turn signals. Like I said, the black door handles, the treatment down below. And next, you can see in the rear uses the same wheels and tires, and those are square setup, so no need to cover that. And let's go ahead and make our way to the rear of the vehicle. So here you can see, again, this is a really great view of this CR-V TrailSport Hybrid. Um, you can see that it has the black badging for the CR-V name and that hybrid badge as well. You got the chrome Honda badge there. All-wheel drive is a sticker right above that. So here I'll kind of zoom in so you can see that. There, it's not an actual chrome badge here. It's just a little sticker there under the rear wiper. And there you can see it also has that, black and orange TrailSport badging off to the right. And you can see down below, it's got a silver garnish, those dual exhaust finishers, and a tow hitch. That's right, this CR-V TrailSport Hybrid is rated to tow up to 1,000 pounds. So again, you get some off-road capable functions and features on this TrailSport Hybrid trim. So next, I think we've covered everything on the exterior of the TrailSport Hybrid. So next, let's go ahead and hop inside to talk about the interior. All right, guys, here we are inside the CR-V TrailSport Hybrid, and we're going to point out some of the details that make it exclusively this TrailSport trim. And first and foremost, we'll talk about the steering wheel here. It's a really good shape and size, just like the rest of the CR-V lineup. It's a leather-wrapped steering wheel, but like a lot of the other parts on TrailSport, like I mentioned in the badging, that orange font, you're going to find that all throughout the interior, including the stitching. So even on the steering wheel here, you actually have an orange stitching, which pops and looks really nice. There are some really good features here on the steering wheel. All your volume controls are on the left. All your ADAS safety controls are on the right. There are paddle shifters, minus on the left, plus on the right. We'll talk about how those work and what they do during the drive portion of the video, though. In the center here, you got the chrome Honda badge, and then down below in this like center spoke here, you actually have a button for a heated steering wheel. So that's right, you actually get heated steering function on this trim. But overall, great size steering wheel, great feel, great ergonomics behind it with the wiper and blinker controls here. But as I look across the dash, it's very familiar in the sense that if you know what the new CR-V looks like, you already know what the interior design is. That didn't change so much for this TrailSport trim. So you do have some soft touch materials here at the top. This really cool honeycomb treatment to the HVAC vents, the climate vents here that goes along the entire dash. This kind of textured trim that goes along the dash as well, which really makes it like an upscale and premium look. As we make our way down this whole center area here, so you've got these little joysticks for the climate controls, and then in a typical Honda fashion, you got physical buttons for the climate controls as well. And if you hear that, it's very, tactile, kind of clickety sound. That's really good. It feels good in your hand, and it's very easy to change all the climate controls. But if you come a little bit further down, you have a really useful area here that includes two USB-C charge ports. So one for data, one for charging, and also a 12-volt socket next to that. But in this little cubby area here, you have a wireless charge pad. That's right, that's included. And you also have this rubberized mat around it where you could store other items like your keys, other things like that. Coming a little bit further back, you do have a mechanical shifter, right? Even though it's a hybrid system, and we'll talk about that during the drive. But next to that, you have this toggle switch for your drive modes, the hill descent control button, an electronic parking brake and brake hold function as well. Come back a little bit further, you got two cup holders, another little tray here we can store keys or your coins, and then in your center console here, man, you got lots of space. It's very deep. It's a nice leather material, that orange contrast stitching as well. Of course, traditional glove box here. It's a typical size. But now let's talk about some of the treatment on the door. The same treatment you get on the dash carries over to the door as well, that texturized treatment. Typical window controls. The leather and the orange stitching carries over to the doors as well. And then just a nice little touch above the speaker is a little stamping that says CRV. So that's actually into the molded plastic, but again, helps to make it look like a little bit more elevated and premium trim. You got a black roof liner here on the Trail Sport, looks really nice. But let's talk about these seats, guys. So the seats are really comfortable, and they're actually a cloth material, so they're not leather. There's actually a little bit of leather accenting going on here, but the seat is actually a cloth seat. But that's not a bad thing because the design treatment and the overall feel is really premium, right? So you got some nice treatment that goes all the way down the center of the seat, a very nice pattern, orange stitching all across the bolsters. And these seats are actually pretty aggressively bolstered here on the side. Not that they're uncomfortable, but they definitely are supportive and keep you in place. And then let's talk about the headrest. So both the driver and the passenger seats have that Trail Sport logo stitched into the headrest along with contrast stitching. So these seats look and feel really premium. It's a power seat on the driver's side, including lumbar support, but on the passenger side, it is manual seats. You're going to have to adjust it that way. One of the other nice things about this Trail Sport package are the floor mats. So the floor mats are actually an all-weather design, and they have the Trail Sport logo again in orange, molded into that all-weather mat. And so you get all-weather mats up front with that logo, and then all-weather mats even in the second row of the CRV as well. So really, really nice treatment for this Trail Sport trim. Like I was talking about the headliner, you do get a moonroof on this trim, which is nice. Sunglass holder, LED lighting. But lastly, let's quickly talk about the technology in the car. So you do get Honda's 9-inch color touchscreen. It does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility. That's very nice. It also gives you some other functions and features which are really nice. But here in the center, you get a 10.2-inch digital instrument cluster, which is customizable. So that's nice. Some of the other trims of CRV didn't have that. So it's nice to finally have that 10.2-inch digital instrument cluster here on the CRV. Gives you hybrid specific graphics. You can actually get a little power display meter that shows you how the battery is charging, when it's charging, things like that, if you wanted to know how that system works. And then lastly, again, you know me, I love my music, I'm an audiophile. On this trim, you get a really good audio system, but it's not the Bose premium sound system that you get on the Sport Touring Hybrid. So unfortunately, you don't get it. There's no way to configure it on this Trail Sport trim. So let me know your guys' thoughts and comments about that down below. Would you really want the Bose trim on this, on this Trail Sport trim, or are you totally fine with this kind of mid-level audio system that they've included here? So with that, I think we've covered just about everything up front. So next, let's go ahead and hop in the second row. All right, guys, here we are in the second row of this Trail Sport Hybrid. And just like the rest of the CRV lineup, right, the packaging, the dimensions don't change, which means you've got a lot of space, even here in the second row. Easily fit 3 adults across. So this is truly a 2-row 5-passenger vehicles. So for me, as always, I say I'm about 5'10", and man, I have tons of space. This is actually my driving position. I've got tons of knee room, can easily fit my feet underneath the seat, tons of headroom, lots of room, tandem side, going this way. Again, just packaging is great. Tons of space here in the second row. A lot of the materials from the first row also carry over to the second row, so that same texture treatment here on the door, speakers in the door, the CRV being stamped into the door itself, the orange contrast stitching and the leather material on the doors there. You do get the same cloth seating surfaces here in the rear, but they feel really good, similar to the other trims in the CRV lineup, but they do have that Trail Sport exclusive stitching as well as design. Down here in the center area here, you do have vents and you can adjust them, but you can't adjust the climate control. So of course it's not a tri-zone climate setup. You wouldn't find that in this segment or price point, but down below that on this trim, you get two more USB-C charge ports, and both of these are for charging. So essentially, they've got 5 passengers. You've got 5 ways to charge your devices because you got the 2 USB-Cs up front, the wireless charge pad, plus the 2 USB-Cs back here. So nobody is going to go without their device being charged up. You do get one mat pocket on the back of the seats up front, and then here you do have an armrest that folds down in the center. It's actually a big armrest. It's that cloth material, but it does have 2 cup holders integrated nicely into it. And as always, I just show as a reference, I do have a car seat back here, a booster seat, but I think even if you had one of those rear facing child seats, those big seats, you would have no problem fitting it here in the back. And what's great is they leave the latches exposed, so they're super easy to get to and really easy to attach to. So very important for you parents out there. And then, like I said up front, you do get this all-weather floor mat. It's just one piece. It's one big piece that goes across the entire floor. And while there's a slightly raised surface here in the middle, it's not bad at all and wouldn't bother the person sitting here in the middle. So with that, I think we've covered everything in the second row. So next, let's go ahead and hop out to talk about the cargo area. All right, guys, here we are with the cargo space of the CR-V TrailSport Hybrid. And this one actually comes with the power tailgate on this trim. So, of course, you can open it inside with the button press on the key fob, or you can just pull the handle here. So I'll go do that, let the power tailgate open up. So that's a nice feature to have here on the TrailSport trim. On the inside, there's a very nice carpeted material down low. There's no way to access any kind of underfloor storage though. So the space you see here is what you get. There's nothing hidden below that. There are 60/40 rear folding seats. The latches are here on the shoulders. Those push down. That's really nice. You do have some LED lighting back here, as well as a 12-volt socket, which is a nice feature to have. But with this and the seats up, you actually have 36.3 cubic feet of space. And if you were to fold those seats down, that actually jumps to 76.5 cubic feet of space. So a ton of space back here, no problem to store, multiple big suitcases on a trip. Obviously, you can do some damage at Costco and going to other stores. So the CR-V definitely has the cargo and utility to carry a lot of things. So with that, next, let's go ahead and talk about the CR-V's powertrain. All right, next, let's go ahead and talk about the powertrain of this CR-V TrailSport Hybrid. So, like I mentioned earlier, the only way to get this TrailSport trim is to go with Honda's 2-motor hybrid powertrain. You can't get the regular gasoline engine, but don't worry, this hybrid powertrain has plenty of power and great fuel efficiency that we'll talk about next during the drive. But first, let's talk about this powertrain. So if you've watched some of the other videos here on Drive Culture, you know we already have several reviews on the other trims with this hybrid powertrain. But for those of you watching for the first time, let's talk about it here for a sec. So it's actually a 2-motor hybrid system, meaning that there is a 2-liter 4-cylinder Atkinson engine with 2 electric motors. Now, one of them is actually paired directly to the motor, and essentially the engine in this powertrain, it acts as a generator to charge up the small lithium-ion battery on board. It's a very small battery, and it never depletes itself, but essentially the engine is spinning that motor as a generator to put energy back into that battery pack. That obviously also happens during regenerative braking when you're slowing down. That also can help to charge the battery pack. But secondarily, there's a second motor that's literally driving the front wheels, right? And front wheels, and actually also there's a drive shaft that goes to the back to power the rear wheels, because on this TrailSport Hybrid trim, it only comes with all-wheel drive, right? So the electric motor is powering these front wheels, and essentially it acts like a battery electric vehicle, right? And you actually notice that in the sound and in the instant torque that you feel driving around town. And it's only when you're like at cruising speeds will you ever actually have the engine helping to drive those front wheels. In most cases, it's just the electric motor. So that's what makes this hybrid powertrain special. And in this configuration here, it actually makes 204 horsepower and 247 pound-feet of torque. And that's electric instant torque. So around town, this thing actually gets up pretty quick, but there's no better way than to prove that out than to get behind the wheel. So next, let's go ahead and take this thing for a drive.
All right, guys, here we are inside the CR-V TrailSport Hybrid. I'm gonna go ahead and take this thing for a drive. So grab my seatbelt here, plug it in, foot on the brake, hit the power button, and just like that, it's on. Again, the hybrids are super quiet when they turn on, which is definitely nice, but it's also hard to tell if they're actually on or not. So the digital instrument cluster kind of gives you a bunch of animations and lets you know it's on, and other than that, you're pretty much ready to set off. So go ahead, foot on the brake, pull it back into D to set off. One thing that I always mention is with these electronic parking brakes, the logic is if you have your seatbelt on and you're in gear, you don't actually have to push or pull the lever to release the brake. You can just actually touch the gas and then it automatically releases and you can take off. So it's a pretty nice feature to have. So like always, we'll cycle through the drive modes, talk about it, but I'm just gonna start off in normal here for a sec. And it's interesting because, like, if you've watched the channel before, I have several trims of the CR-V and the CR-V Hybrid here on Drive Culture, and because of that, I have an idea of what the entry trim looks like all the way to the fully loaded sport touring trim. And like I said in the walk around part of the video, this TrailSport Hybrid kind of sits in the middle, right? There's the Sport Hybrid, now there's the TrailSport Hybrid, then above that there's a Sport L Hybrid, and then finally the Sport Touring Hybrid, which is the fully loaded trim. And again, that positions this kind of nicely in the middle from a pricing, feature, and design standpoint. So but let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Which trim really seems the most appealing to you? Do you really want the TrailSport trim with some of the off-road design and obviously the all-terrain tires? I mean, the first thing I'll say about driving this car is, like a lot of the other Hondas that have the all-terrain tires these days, like the Pilot TrailSport, the Passport TrailSport, even the Ridgeline TrailSport, Honda does a really good job in tuning the cars where, even though you've got this more aggressive all-terrain tire on the car now, it doesn't necessarily, make the NVH, noise, vibration, harshness, worse. It doesn't add a ton more, road noise or tire noise into the cabin. I've noticed that in every vehicle that has a TrailSport trim, it's actually really well tuned, and it was one of the first thing I noticed on this CR-V TrailSport, which is even more telling than some of the other models, given that this is a hybrid, which means it's already an extremely quiet vehicle, so any other sounds kind of really stand out, and you don't really get any additional road noise or tire noise from these all-terrain tires. So that's a huge win. Doesn't feel like a penalty getting the off-road trim. With that said, let's before we set off here, I'll kind of show you the drive mode. So it's pretty simple. There's 4 drive modes. There's a snow mode, which we won't have to use today. There's an econ mode to kind of hypermile, get even better MPG, because on this TrailSport Hybrid with these 18-inch wheels and these all-terrain tires, the combined EPA fuel rating is 35 miles per gallon, but I think you can easily beat that as long as you're not beating on it too much. So I went back up to normal, and then above normal, of course, there's a sport mode, which we'll try out here in a second, but I'm just going to set out try to drive this like a normal person this time. And yeah, it's again, it's very quiet. It feels just like all the other CR-V hybrids, which is a very good thing. And the fact that they have really good NVH. You don't get a ton of wind noise or road noise driving through the city. I mean, maybe there's just a little bit more than normal, but it's really negligible. It's not something that drastically stands out. So we'll go ahead and do the normal route that I do here, which means we'll take this over a pretty aggressive train track and just see how the suspension and the chassis, maybe the wheels have something to do with that in the tires, but I doubt it. I think it'll be really good. I know the other CR-V trims handled that really well, so I don't think it'll be much of an issue. So the first one that I'm coming up to here is not as bad. I'll go over it at about 35 miles an hour here, just kind of hold it there and we'll go over it. It's not too bad, but let's see how it does. Yeah, really good. A little bit of vibration, which is to be expected, but other than that, pretty drama free, which is good. This next one here is a little bit more aggressive. So again, same thing, try to be there at 35, 37 miles an hour and go over it and just see how the car handles it. So here we go. Yeah, I mean, honestly, didn't feel much different than the first one, which says a lot because that second train track is a lot more aggressive and has a lot more dips in it. So again, really good chassis tuning, suspension tuning on the CR-Vs. The hybrids are really fun to drive. They're sporty to drive. And this TrailSport trim, you don't really lose any of that, but you get the benefit of the all-terrain tires. If you want to do some light off-roading or go camping or hiking, you at least now know in confidence you can go off-road and do that. So I feel like that's a win-win. So next, let's talk about the drive here. So as I mentioned, there's paddle shifters behind the steering wheel. There's a minus on the left, there's a plus on the right. And what they do is they adjust the amount of regenerative braking that you get from the electric motors, right? So it's like dragging, creating energy, sending it to the battery, through that brake regen. And it's not overly aggressive. There's 4 levels. You get these little down arrows to represent each level of regeneration. And if you pull the minus, it adds the levels of regen. It actually makes it the car come much more close to stopping on its own. It doesn't come to a full stop. The Accord Hybrid has 6 levels of regen, and on that most aggressive one, it basically does one pedal driving, but the CR-V does not get to that extent. So it's nice to have. Obviously, pushing the plus or pulling the plus paddles will take away the levels of regen and bring you back to a normal drive mode. If I toggle up into sport mode though, next to the D for drive, you get a little M. Now it doesn't turn into paddle shifters or any gears or anything like that, but again, what it does is it kind of holds the amount of brake regen that you get. So if you set it to the most aggressive setting, if you have it in normal mode, it'll eventually default back to the standard setting, but in sport mode, it'll technically hold all 4 levels of regen, and you'll kind of always be driving around in that. So just depends on the type of drive you're looking for, but I mean, I feel like this is a very sporty drive. So here we are. I'm gonna give it a little wide open throttle. So 60. So yeah, I mean, see, it's not slow for what it is, right? I mean, being a compact 5-passenger SUV, it's not a sports car. It's not trying to be one. It's supposed to be your city runabout vehicle, right? CR-V, and it's really good at that. And it's quiet. It's quick now with a hybrid powertrain, that instant torque. It's fun to drive. If you put it in sport mode, it definitely has that kind of like EV-like feel. At first, you really feel the instant torque. Then, again, it's only got 204 horsepower, so it kind of it settles in. But it's not slow, and you can easily surprise some people at stoplight races, and you can take off pretty quickly here. So the handling is good. As I went over the bumps, like I said, the chassis, suspension is good. The brakes are fine, and like I said, you can add in the multiple levels of regen to that to actually help slow you down. So I mean, overall, it's got to be one of the more sporty to drive hybrid crossovers out there. So let me know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Have you ever driven a CR-V hybrid? Are you going to consider one for your next vehicle? Let me know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Let me know if you also want to see other hybrid, compact SUVs on the channel. Of course, I'd be happy to bring the competition here to show that as well. But like I said, I think for the packaging, and then kind of going full circle back to the pricing, right, being just under $40,000 in this trim, having this unique, you know, color, design, feature content, the all-terrain tires, it seems like a pretty good deal to me. So I think if you're in the market for that and you wanted something that, like I said, light off-roading, want to do some, you know, camping or hiking in, you know, maybe at a national park or something like that, I feel like this is a really good option. And you can get there and back probably on one tank, given, you know, how well this does on fuel efficiency as well. So here we're going to do one last turn. I'll get into it again and then we'll wrap up. So sport mode, drive, going to get straight and then just get into it. Yeah, it gets up pretty quick, and then I pull the paddles on the left to slow down, get into the brakes, and it really helps to slow down the vehicle. And then at the same time, you know, you just push it around. These trims, like I said, only come in all-wheel drive, so, you know, it doesn't have a true you know, torque vectoring differential like some of the other products, but it does have brake-based torque vectoring as part of this TrailSport package, and so you can feel that working when you're getting really aggressive into the turns and getting into the power. But man, this thing feels like it's pretty quick and actually sounds pretty good too. So again, a lot of fun to drive. So with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this drive review.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. What did you think of the 2026 Honda CR-V TrailSport Hybrid? Is this really the best trim in the entire CR-V lineup? Do you really need the all-terrain tires and the extra TrailSport capability on this specific trim? Let me know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Let me know if you want to see other trims of CR-V on the channel, and or if you want to see competitors here on the channel, because of course I'm happy to bring you that content as well. So if you've joined us before, thank you so much. But if you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. Thanks, and we'll see you at the next episode.